Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Marina Ray. I am a licensed architect and I am recording a series of videos where I share my experience and my journey through the architect registration examination divisions. This video is about the second division, project management. And I put together a little presentation that I will share with you, and I will share my tips and tricks and what helped me and what did not in the preparation for this exam. If you have not seen my other videos, please subscribe and see the practice management, programming and analysis, PPD, PDD, and construction and evaluation divisions as well. So, and also I'm sharing the free materials and the paid materials that I used. All right, so let us begin with the exam. So when we look at the division, we see that this is the second division here. I marked them up. And that doesn't mean that you need to take it as your second exam. You can take the exam in any order. Some people prefer to start with the actually technical parts of the exams, which is project planning and design or PPD, or project development and documentation or PDD, because that's what actually people do day in and day out at the architectural firm. But I think it's easier to take the pro practice first, which is practice management, project management, and then construction and evaluation, and then go to the technical parts. But it's totally up to you. So in the project management exam, there are 75 questions, and that includes 2 case studies. That's always the exam structure. There are always 2 case studies at the very end. And the total test duration is 3 hours, and you are allowed to take a break for 30 minutes. Again, like I said in my previous video, the practice management, I highly recommend to take the breaks because your body needs to move, and that's how your brain will work better and how you'll be able to actually concentrate on the information when your body is not stiff. You can really analyze the information better, but that's just my little advice. So the total appointment time is 3 hours and 40 minutes. So you should allocate like roughly 4 hours and come to the test center early because there could be a line, and if you don't want to spend like more time after that, just because you will start as soon as your turn comes, you will not be admitted at your appointment time because there are other people in front of you. So when we talk about the project management division, basically this is about managing the architectural projects, and that includes contracts, that includes consultants, that includes the office standards, that includes the development of project teams, how you put them together, how you hire people or relocate people between the projects, and then the overall project control of the client, because that's an important part, the stakeholder, then the fees and the risk management. So also QA, QC, or quality assurance and quality control is an essential part of this exam, and project team configuration, and also project scheduling. So also what else is important is how you deliver project services per contractual requirements. And that's in the that's the collaboration with consultants as well. So there are 5 sections, and I'll talk more about each of them in a moment. So the first section is resource management. Then the second is project work planning. Then contracts, it is a big part. then project execution, and the fifth one is project quality control, or QC. So before we dive deeper into each section, I would like to talk a little bit about the references, about the materials that NCARB recommends. And here I have a link for you, and I will put it in the description of this video so you can click on it and always get back to the most up-to-date guidelines, because NCARB updates them, I would say, a few times a year. So you always need to actually get the freshest issue of the guidelines. So the primary resource that is recommended is the HPP, or the Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice. And you see that it intersects with the practice management and construction and evaluation. And I repeat myself, this is your Bible. This is important, and you really need to read that book. You have to have this book, you have to read it. And although some of the case studies will look not really relevant, trust me, they are. So you really need to know the contents of this book very well. So another supplemental material is Professional Practice, a Guide to Turning Designs into Buildings. I read the book. I don't want to say it's like, super important. At least it was kind of like obvious for me, because I worked in architectural firm, and that was kind of like understood. So I don't know, but this is the supplemental materials, and if you get a hold of that, definitely read that. Another one is the CSI Practice Guide. So that is basically the project delivery, and that's published by the Construction Specifications Institute. It does not overlap with any other divisions, but it is a good book. And in general, please get familiar with the CSI materials. There are textbooks, and I actually have a playlist that provides the high-level overview of the CSI practice guide. So you can click on the link. I will leave it under this video, and you can take a look if you are interested. So let's move to our sections. The first one is resource management. And that takes between 7 and 13% of the exam items. And you remember we have 75 questions. So that means that is between 5 and 10 questions per exam. So once you have signed a contract, it's time to determine what resources will be needed to execute the project. And in this section, you will need to determine the composition of the project team and how each team member's time will be managed and allocated in order to execute the project successfully. So, and basically you need to determine criteria required to assemble a team, then access criteria required to allocate and manage project resources. What this means. So, for example, I don't know if you came across some of the practice questions or mock exams. There will be like a chart with the weekly load of the team members, like the project manager, the project architect, a junior drafter, then like different team members, and you need to put together a team for a new project. So you need to see like who is loaded, like who has more time. And if it's a project in a different jurisdiction, you need to see if that architect is licensed in that jurisdiction, in a different state, for example. So, things like that, just to understand how to better serve the new project. Also, what you need to manage project resources is basically you need to understand the budget, like how much each of the team member will cost you to complete the project, and that is an important part as well. So for example, you will need to see how much the project architect charges for an hour and how many hours you have left. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind. The second section is project work planning, and that is between 17 and 23% of the items, and that is between 13 and 17 questions. So you already know that that's 75 questions in total, and between 13 and 17 is dedicated to the project work planning. And in this section, you will evaluate effective ways to develop and communicate a work plan with the assembled project team in order to complete the project. So basically, you'll develop and maintain a project work plan, and that's the how you're gonna do that, who is gonna do what, and what sequence you're gonna use. Then determine the criteria required to develop and maintain the project schedule. And that is the like a very important component of the project management. You need to stick to the schedule. You cannot deliver project late. You really need to make sure that everything is in control and everything is taken care of properly, so you are not late, because if the owner has a strict deadline and you're late for the like delivering some of the phases, that's not gonna be good. So this is an important part, project work planning. This is a critically important section. Also, you need to determine appropriate communication with the project team between the owner, contractor, consultants, and internal staff. So there are many different software systems where you can track the project. And as a project manager or project architect, you will use them. So I'm not going to endorse any of the systems here. Probably you use at your architectural firm, or you know of something, and use something that works for you. But this is important to just track that communication and actually document everything, because you need to make sure that even a phone call with the owner is documented, because if the owner wants to make changes and then there is a problem with that change, you need to show that documentation saying, hey, this is what you actually wanted to do. And the same with the contractor. And then after the changes are made, then that will become a change order when it's signed by both contractor, architect, and the owner. And here we can find the architect supplemental instruction, or ASI, or the CCD, or construction change directive. So that's what the architect will issue if you need to proceed immediately with the changes, and there is no time to wait. So also, let's move to the next part. That is the contracts. And this is a critically important section. I even have the contracts listed on the next slide. So you will see which contracts you actually need to be ready to not review, but you need to know what those contracts are about, and the most important terms and conditions. So this section is between 25 and 31%, and that is between 19 and 23 questions. So in this section, you will analyze the contracts that establish relationships between the architect, owner, contractors, and consultants. And these are the objectives here. So you need to evaluate and verify adherence to owner architect agreement, or B101. Then interpret key elements of and verify adherence to architect consultant agreement, or C401. Then interpret key elements of the owner-contractor agreement. That's A101. And then interpret key elements of the owner-consultant agreement to integrate the consultant's work into the project. So let's actually take at all the contracts, and we'll see what they are about. And here I have highlighted kind of like the most important contracts that you will see throughout many divisions. But let's go one by one. So the first one is A101, or standard form of agreement between owner and contractor, where the basis of payment is a stipulated sum. Then A133, that's the standard form of agreement between owner and construction manager as constructor, where the basis of payment is the cost of work plus fee with the guaranteed maximum price, or GMP. Then A141, that's the standard form of agreement between owner and design builder. And you remember that design build is one single entity where the architect and contractor are working together, and basically the owner has one contract. And please don't forget that in the design build, the project delivery system, the architect and the contractor are not contractually connected. So everything goes through the owner. So there is no contractual liability between the architect and the contractor. So the next one is A195. That's the agreement between owner and contractor for IPD, or integrated project delivery. Then A201 is, I don't want to say the most important contract, but it kind of is. So that's the general conditions. And that is something that you will see in many, many exams. So according, like, there will be like according to A201, and then there will be some scenario, and you need to select what to do based on this contract. So A295, that's the general conditions for IPD, or integrated project delivery, and that's another interesting contract. I mean, not contract, the interesting project delivery method that is getting more popular, and there are, I would say, more questions about that. And just because there are so many educated owners now, they want to be on the same page with everybody, so they sign the IPD contract. The next one is A701, instruction to bidders. So basically, it's a very brief form, and that's the bidding documents, and you need to know where to place it, and you need to know where to use it. There's not a lot of like contents there. B101 is another critical important contract. That's the agreement between owner and architect. And there are a few variations of that contract, like B106 or like B104, for example. That's for like smaller projects or for some like residential projects. So you can see the whole list. I will leave a link to the AIA contracts under this video, so you can definitely take a look at that. The next one is B143, and that's the agreement between design builder and architect. So then B195, that's again the IPD, and that's between owner and architect. So you see there is like a little logic here. So everything that ends with like 95, that is for the IPD, for example. That's how you can remember. Or for example, 143, that's the design builder. So, or like 141, A141. So that's like you can see the logic behind the naming convention. So the next one is C401, another very important contract that I have marked in red here. So that's the agreement between architect and consultant. And those are various consultants that the architect will use in the project. So it can be like an interior designer, it can be an acoustical consultant, can be like some sustainability consultant, or any other type of consultant that is needed for the project, or like I don't know, like kitchen consultant for the restaurant, or some other consultants. G701, that's the change order. You need to know how it looks. So definitely just browse this contract. It's not a contract, that's the basically a 2-page document that is signed by all parties, by architect, owner, and the contractor. Then G702 is application and certificate for payment. So it's a pay app. And then G703 is the continuation sheet. That's for the pay app as well. G704, that's the certificate of substantial completion. So that's something that will be issued before the final completion, before the final punch list. So that is a critically important milestone in the project delivery. So you need to know what actually, what document stands behind it. And G709 is the proposal request. So that's like not the most important document, but it is worth knowing what is actually in the document. All right, so let's move to our fourth section, that is the project execution. And here we can see between 17 and 23% of the exam items, and that's between 13 and 17 questions. This section assesses management of the project's execution. It's not about the design-related decisions, but rather the necessary administrative procedures throughout the project. So, for example, you need to evaluate compliance with the construction budget. Then you need to evaluate and address changes in scope of work and scope creep. Let's talk a little bit about this before we move to the final two subsections. So compliance with construction budget. Basically, when the contractor submits the pay apps or applications for payment, you need to evaluate if the work that they have completed up to date is actually compliant with what they said they already delivered. So you need to go to the site and see. And again, architects do not do any inspections, do not do any like extensive inspections. We just do the observations that are the project is up to date and in compliance with the contract documents, that everything is actually according to our plan, according to our design. And then when they submit the application for payment, you need to make sure that what they did is paid, and the owner, you need to make sure that the owner paid for that portion that has been completed, because we don't want to end up in the situation where the subcontractor files the like mechanics lien, and then there's like a stop work order and like nothing is completed, or so yes, architect needs to just make sure that everything goes well and smooth in the project. And also, if there are any changes in the scope of work and scope creep. So if there are any changes that are affecting the time, the cost, or the scope of the project, they need to be documented, and that needs to be a change order signed by everybody. And the architect needs to track those change orders. So there should be enumerated, and they should be just kept like as a separate log. So architect just needs to make sure that everything goes well here as well. So the third subsection is evaluate project documentation to ensure it supports the specified delivery method. So this is the contract. If everything is in compliance, if all the parties act the way they should and everything goes smooth. And then the final subsection is to identify and conform with the requirements set forth by authorities having jurisdiction or AHJ in order to obtain approvals for the project. So basically, this is like the first kind of like step of the due diligence that architects need to go through. We have not started to design anything. We're just discussing all the T's and C's, and we need to just check if the jurisdiction allows that. For example, if the owner wants to have a metal building there and it's not allowed by the jurisdiction, you really need to bring this up right away, because there is no point like in signing the document and then realizing, okay, this is absolutely not allowed on this locality. So that's just like one example, but that's like the preliminary check of all the like codes, excuse me, codes and restrictions. So also what else you oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the fifth section of the project management exam, and that's project quality control. So, or QA, QC, and that's between 19 and 25% of the exam items, or between 14 and 19 questions. So, and this is the final section, and this analyzes quality control methods, procedures, and review processes in order to maintain the proper standard of care throughout the entire project. And we spoke about the standard of care in the practice management exam, but you see here it continues. So you need to know what architects can and cannot do, and what actually, where we are protected. As with the previous sections, this section is not about the design-related decisions, but rather the necessary administrative procedures throughout the project. So, for example, you need to apply procedures required for adherence to laws and regulations relating to the project. And again, make sure that you double check everything before you sign the contract. So if for example, the owner just acquired a large piece of land, you need to make sure, you need to communicate with, for example, the EPA or Environmental Protection Agency, that that area is buildable, because if it's not, then you cannot do a thing, and you should not sign that contract with the owner and promise him that you will design I don't know, like a community college or something there. So then you need to identify steps in maintaining project quality control and reducing risks and liabilities. So basically here you need to make sure how you control the all the items, how you monitor everything, and how you make sure that everything is according to the contract documents. And this is how you actually reduce your risks and liabilities. And again, we never indemnify anybody. We never promise that we will deliver like the perfect project or the excellent design. That is something out of our control, and we don't warranty anything. So that's not that should never be in the agreement. And if somebody added it there, please make sure that you consult with your legal advisor and you remove it from there. Also, we need to perform quality control reviews of project documentation throughout life of project. And this is a very important this is a very important subsection because you need to know actually how the project lives. And I will add a link to, I don't know who put together that wonderful large document, but there is a link to that on the Young Architect Academy website, and you can print it out. You can have it like 24 by 36, or you can have a few 8.5 by 11 pages, and that you can glue them together if you don't have a plotter handy. And this is beautiful. I really had it on my wall when I was preparing for the exams, and you go step by step and just you see what documents are involved. There are some minor, I would say, not mistakes, but some kind of like it's not accurate, but there's like maybe two of them. So like the rest of it is just perfect. So I'll leave a link so you can access that. And then you need to evaluate management of the design process to maintain integrity of design objectives. So what that actually means, it's like a mouthful, but what that means is you need to make sure that you follow your own design process that you have in your office. So for example, if you have a separate team who works on the schematic design, then you move it to the design development to like a different team, and the designer who just had a concept, if it's like a chief designer or something, they just kind of like, okay, so this is what I see, this is my vision, and then the rest of the team develops the design, and then you consult with the owner. If they accept that, then you just send it to the production team if they work on the CDs, the construction documents, or it's like the whole team works on everything. So this is just to make sure that everything is according to your plan. As an architect, you must have a plan how you do things internally. So this is what it is about. And yeah, so that was for it for the sections. And like I always do in these videos, the final slide is about the passing score. So here I have a snapshot of one of my failed attempts to pass the project management. So it's okay to say that you failed. Like I failed the project management division before I passed it, so that's totally fine. And it I remove the percentage that I received. But here you can see the passing candidates percent score. And they say that the candidates must correctly answer between 59 and 71% of the total number of scored questions. So again, this is not something that you need to um, freak out about. You do not have to do 100% correctly. So it's between 59 and 71. You don't know the percentage that you will receive when you pass the exam, because NCARB does not actually share that. It doesn't break it down when you pass, but when you fail, you see the score. And as in the previous division, you will have the pilot questions that are not scored. You just don't know which ones uh, those will be. So answer all the questions, flag those that you are not sure about, and get back to them at the end of the exam if you have time. If not, just make sure that everything is answered, because sometimes you can just guesstimate. Like there will be questions that you really will have no idea about, that you never read about, that you never encountered in your architectural practice. So, and that's totally fine. That's like that can be a pilot questions that NCARB is just testing. So don't be scared. Everything is going to be fine. You will eventually pass this exam as well. And yeah, that was basically it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, if you find them useful, please subscribe and share them with your friends who are preparing for the exams. And yeah, thank you so much. I will see you in the next division, which is programming and analysis. Thank you.